The 80s were over. Michael Jordan established himself as the best individual talent the league had ever seen. Now it was time to start winning. He proved how serious he was about this after he carried his team to the conference finals by giving us one iconic moment after another. The rest of the team needed to come on board. This was going to be accomplished by the front office making one important move. They named Phil Jackson as their head coach. He was going to make his mark by creating a strong sense of community and unity. He also enforced an offensive system that looked to get everyone else involved. Jordan was longing for a more multi-dimensional version of the Bulls, and Phil was the last missing piece that would drive this team to become the greatest modern-day dynasty in the NBA. It would be far-fetched to claim that the triangle offense alone was the answer, but it did create a lot of problems for the opposing teams. They couldn't effectively cover Jordan now that he's moving more without the ball. The triangle offense eliminated the double and triple teams that the defense would often use, which opened up many scoring opportunities for everyone else. This would fast-track the progress of third-year players Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant. Phil Jackson mentioned in his book, 11 Rings, that Jordan did not have complete faith in his teammates' abilities. There was a learning curve at first, as he started the season going 2-4. But as the year progressed, they began to look more and more like the team that would end up dominating the 90s. This team's 8-game improvement had a lot to do with the supporting cast, but they still had a little more to go. The numbers say that they were still very much dependent on Michael Jordan. His field goal attempts average went from 22.2 per game to 24. Phil Jackson even mentioned to the LA Times that the offense will often go from the triangle offense to the Archangel offense, especially during crunch time. They'll just give the ball to MJ and let him save the day. When you have a player like that on your team, it's easy to sit back and watch him perform. I don't blame them, since this version of Michael Jordan is arguably the single greatest version of a basketball player we've ever seen. He's still in his athletic prime, but the 2 previous playoff defeats to the Pistons made him stronger to withstand the punishment. He's also been around the league long enough to learn some tricks of his own. Every year, he was adding something new to his game. For this season, he became a dangerous three-point shooter. He improved his three-point percentage from 27.6 to 37.6. That's a 10% improvement. He had everybody talking about this new element to his game after what he did to the Golden State Warriors. He went 7 of 12 from behind the arc. Up to that point, it was tied for the 3rd most three-pointers made for a single game. Michael admitted that he didn't like the three-point shot. However, he recognized the importance of incorporating that into his game to open up the floor. He proved that when needed, he could beat you from the outside. Speaking of single-game performances, this season features some of the best games he's ever had. There are 3 games in which he scored over 50 points, and there are 19 other games where he scored over 40 points. The Cleveland Cavaliers were the team that suffered the most. The first game of the season went like this. He had 54 points on 61% shooting, 14 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 steals. That includes making the game-tying shot with 3 seconds to force overtime. According to StatHead, there's only one other time a player has matched or surpassed the numbers that Jordan posted. That came later in the season against his very team. We're talking about the iconic game in which Michael posted his career high in both points and rebounds. He had 69 points on 62% shooting, 18 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 steals. He also posted a game score of 64.6, which is the highest ever. This performance honestly deserves an entire video dedicated to what he accomplished. Luckily, this has already been done on this channel for you to enjoy. That game perfectly represents the level that he was playing at. But instead of looking at a 2-game sample, let's look at his averages for the year. He recorded 33.6 points on 53% shooting, 6.9 rebounds, 6.3 assists, and 2.8 steals per game. From a historical perspective, he racked up the 12th most total points for a single season. On top of that, he recorded a 10.6 value or replacement player rating. That's his 6th highest mark ever. And lastly, this is only the 2nd time that players averaged at least 33 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals. James Harden is the only other player to accomplish this. But as you can see, he was nowhere near as efficient. This was unquestionably an all-time great season. And yet, he finished third in MVP voting behind Charles Barkley and Magic Johnson. Why was he being dismissed? The columnist from the Miami Herald, Sean Powell, explained his thoughts. I think Michael has wowed us to death, put us to sleep in a way. He is so spectacular that people just take him for granted now. People don't realize what a phenomenal athlete we're seeing. But why should we penalize him for having an ordinary Michael Jordan year? I don't think anyone else is capable of having an ordinary Michael Jordan year. Okay, that's great. So why did he not vote for MJ? He continues saying, I really wrestle with it because I saw it more of a personal preference than, is this guy better than that guy? I mean, who in their right mind can say that Barkley's better than Jordan? I voted for Charles because I thought he had grown as a player, passing, scoring and rebounding, and during the regular season, I think he grew as a person, being more civil to his teammates. That almost sounds like he, among other voters, was simply tired of voting for MJ, even though he only won one MVP award up to that point. They couldn't really use the excuse that he didn't know how to win yet, since the Bulls won the most games since Jordan came to the league. They had the second best record in the East. Let's not forget that Scottie Pippen was still coming into his own. This was his first year as a full-time starter. Meanwhile, Michael led the league in scoring, steals, win shares, offensive win shares per 48 minutes, value or replacement player rating, box plus minus, offensive box plus minus, and PER. That's a total of 9 different categories. He should have won the MVP without all the controversies that erupted when Magic Johnson was selected. However, his greatness wasn't appreciated nearly enough. He needed to get it done in the playoffs. In the first round against the Milwaukee Bucks, he showed the teams of the league that you couldn't stop him by being physical. The Bucks got the wrong impression from the Pistons that you had to beat up Jordan to have a chance at beating the Bulls, and that resulted in some very physical games. The game that stands out the most was Game 4, as both teams tried to combine 96 free throw attempts. 6 technical fouls were also called in that game. Phil Jackson said afterwards that it was trench warfare. The Bulls still managed to win by 24 points despite all the unnecessary hard hits. Jordan's best performances start with Game 2, as he finished with a stat line of 36 points on 57% shooting, 11 assists, 9 rebounds, 5 steals, and 1 block. It was a masterful all-around performance. In the following game, he recorded 48 points on 57% shooting, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 blocks, and 1 steal. That was just a shooting masterpiece. Most of his field goals came from 16 to 20 feet out, and he couldn't miss all game long. Just another proof of how much better he was in that aspect. Jordan was even more dominant in the following series against Charles Barkley in the Philadelphia 76ers. You know, the player who received more MVP votes. Do you think he took that personally? Well, he averaged 43 points on 55% shooting, 7.4 assists, 6.6 rebounds, and 4 steals per game for the series. That's the 5th highest scoring average for a playoff series ever. Yeah, I think he was out to prove a little something something. He had a 3-game stretch where he had 45 points, 49 points, and 45 points. He also proved why he's the best late game closer. He scored 13 points in the 4th quarter of Game 2 to hold the Sixers off to a 5-point victory. In the following game, Jordan scored 24 points in the 4th quarter and got so close to coming back from a 27-point deficit in the 3rd quarter. He got it down to 3 points in the final minute. Then, in the following game, Jordan had to carry his team without Scottie Pippen in the lineup. He was out because of the death of his father. So Michael proceeded to score 45 points, and he also dished out 11 assists. The Bulls were able to win by 10 points thanks to his dominant performance. They only lost 2 games for the first 2 series, and then it was time to face the bad boy Pistons, the team that knocked him out of the playoffs the past 2 years. Was this team ready to take the next step. At first, it didn't seem so. In Game 1, Michael scored 34 of the team's 77 points. Most of it came in the first half. He struggled after taking this hard fall. He continued playing through the pain, but was not the same. His teammates were unable to pick up the pieces. The effects of that injury were apparent in Game 2. He only had 20 points on 5 of 16 shooting. After the game, he was fuming. The New York Times reported that he kicked a chair in the locker room, declined interview request, and stormed out while still in his warm-up suit. Horace Grant said that he was indeed mad, but he did not point fingers. The other Bulls needed to step up with him playing hurt, and they failed to do so. In fact, the writer described them as a one-man gang. But everything changed when they returned to Chicago. In Game 3, Jordan had 47 points on 56% shooting, 10 rebounds, and 4 assists. He sent a message that he was not going to back down. In Game 4, he had 42 points on 50% shooting, 9 assists, 4 rebounds, 4 steals, and 3 blocks. It was his best all-around performance for that playoff run. As Phil Jackson said in a press conference, Jordan rules tonight. His team just played more aggressively at home. They won all 3 games in the old Chicago Stadium. But on the road, they were a different team. They shot a combined 35% from the field for the 4 road games. Game 7 was by far the worst. Michael Jordan was the only one who seemed to remember how to put the ball in the basket. In fact, he was the only player on the Bulls who scored more than 10 points. He finished the game with 31 points on 48% shooting, 9 assists, and 8 rebounds. The rest of the starting lineup, including B.J. Armstrong, combined to shoot 11 of 57 from the field. Michael was devastated. It's funny that he predicted in Game 1 that they needed to score at least 100 if they wanted to beat this team. However, in 2 of the road games, they couldn't even score 80 points. This playoff run proved that Jordan was ready to become a champion. His 36.7 points per game average is the most by a player in a playoff run of 15 plus games. His teammates were better, but they weren't there yet. For many Bulls fans, this was probably their most heartbreaking defeat, but it molded them into becoming the greatest team many of us have ever seen. It even turned Michael Jordan into a scarier version. But what about you all? What do you remember the most from this season? Where would you rank this out of all of Michael Jordan's seasons? Do you think the Bulls could have beaten the Blazers if they faced in the finals? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.